If you've got a car in the DC metro area like I do, you know that sometimes it can be a real bummer, which is why there's Car Care to Go, the future of car maintenance and repair. I recently had to get repairs on my car, and they picked up my car from my apartment and they brought it back when the work was done. They also texted me to let me know what services were being completed on my car, so I got full control. The valet was free, and you can get your first synthetic oil change for $20.23. Like what you heard? Book now at carcaretogo.com.
Today on CityCast DC. So we've all heard that misconception about young people being apathetic when it comes to government and politics. But more and more young folks, like Maxwell Frost, who recently became the youngest congressman ever, are running for elected office. Here in DC, at just 18 years old, Quentin Cologne Roosevelt is the youngest ANC rep in the city's history, a position he holds while also attending high school. Quentin joins me today to tell us about juggling being a full-time student and elected official. Today is Monday, April 3rd. I'm Bridget Todd, and this is what DC's talking about. So Quentin, you are the youngest elected official in DC. How did that happen?
I got very lucky, definitely. I got really involved in local DC politics around February 2022. That was last year. I started volunteering for Aaron Palmer, who ran for council chair. And then my council member, Mary Che, dropped out of the Ward 3 council race sort of abruptly. And I worked for my friend's mom, Trisha Duncan. I was her field and communications advisor. So I was tweeting for her and helping her run events and stuff. And so I got really involved in local DC politics that way. And her campaign manager was the youngest elected official in DC before me. And he really encouraged me to run. His name's Christian. He now works for Matt Freeman, but he was the ANC commissioner for American University just a couple blocks from my house.
So I know that you do all of this on top of actually still being in high school. How does this work?
Yeah.
How do you juggle everything?
It's really tough. I've learned time management pretty well, but I am still getting better at it every single day. There is some, I have emails I have to respond to. I also have teachers I have to respond to, and I have homework I have to do, and I have to write resolutions. I actually need to get in a resolution for our next ANC meeting. But it's very tough. It is a lot of work. I didn't completely expect it to be this much work when I signed up. But it's also, I think, it's a volunteer position, and it's basically the amount of work and the amount of things you get out of it is just how much time you're willing to put into it. So there are some ANC commissioners who don't really care and will just show up for the meetings and vote and stuff like that. And then there's some ANC commissioners who are always doing neighborhood cleanups and stuff like that. So there are different levels you can take with the role. And I'm trying to figure out which one works best for me as someone who's still in high school still.
Yeah, I bet. I can only imagine with all of the ANC work that you're doing, school, and then also just being a young person who has things going on in their life.
I'm trying to have a little bit of a life too, yeah.
Have there ever been times where your work with ANC has sort of gotten in the way of your work of being a normal high school kid, where you couldn't go to a dance or a soccer game that you wanted to go to?
I don't think so. I think luckily, I really try to handle all this stuff during the week. Our ANC meetings are on Wednesdays, though it is weird that I might have class pretty early on Thursday morning, and our ANC meeting last Wednesday went until 1 a.m. And so I got home pretty late for a high schooler, and I was not doing anything that fun or anything. I was just sitting around with my other ANC commissioners, and we were debating and we were voting on resolutions and stuff like that. So it's a very different lifestyle, but I don't think it has taken away that much from being a normal teenager so far. But it definitely is a lot of work, and so I really do have to prioritize and figure out, I'm going to spend this much time responding to emails today. I'm going to spend this much time working on this resolution I want for our next meeting. I'm going to spend this much time on my homework, and hopefully I'll have some time to hang with my friends afterwards.
Okay, so for folks who might not know, what exactly is the ANC? Can you explain it to us like we're in high school?
So it's the lowest level of local government in DC. It's a volunteer position. It's an unpaid role. You represent sort of your neighborhood. It's supposed to be. So it's around 2,200 people. And you sit on this thing called an advisory neighborhood commission. And basically, the whole thing is the ANC only has advisory powers over DC government agencies, which means that we can send letters to them. We can request things from them. They don't have to listen, but they at least have to respond. So even if they don't agree with us, they have to tell us why they disagree. And so that's pretty important. We can send stuff to DDOT and to, urban forestry and to the Department of Buildings, and they have to respond on whether they agree with us or not. So it is a really great way to provide really local oversight of government. And then there's also stuff that is delegated to the ANC. That's zoning regulations. If someone needs a variance to build an addition on their house when it wouldn't be allowed right now, they need a setback or something like that, they have to go through us. If they need a liquor license for their restaurant or bar, They have to go through us. And then also DDOT tends to defer to the ANC on a lot of stuff in their neighborhood. So that's like bike lanes, bus lanes, stuff like that. They really want to make sure that the residents around wherever these new, things are being put in have a voice in that process, and they delegate that voice to be the ANC.
How have the other commissioners been reacting to you? Like, do you feel like your voice is heard?
Yeah, very well. I mean, I'm very lucky that I have a commission that we're all very good friends, I think. We disagree sometimes here and there, definitely, but we still all are really supportive of each other, and we're really communicative, and it's really great. Two of them are actually my best friends growing up's moms. So Trisha, after she lost her Ward 3 council race, ran for the ANC, and she also convinced my friend Alex and Brendan's mom, Marilyn Nowak, to run for ANC. So I'm on the ANC with two of my friends' moms, which is really funny. And they're really nice to me all the time. Trisha drives me places and stuff. She's great. Everyone is just really nice, and we're really supportive of each other. And even if we disagree on things, we all want what's best for our area of DC and for DC at large. So we really are trying to work together here.
What is your specific neighborhood like in DC?
Yeah, so I live in a neighborhood called Spring Valley. It's very nice. It's a lot of massive houses. I don't think we have a single unit of affordable housing. We don't have a single unit, like multifamily house, which I think is pretty terrible when it comes to, increasing housing density in the district. You have these areas that sort of everyone has a massive house, but there's a lot of green space. There are a lot of trees. It's pretty great. Everyone has a car, which isn't amazing. There's like not very good, bus transportation or metro. I usually take like the AU shuttle runs like 3 blocks from my house to the Tenleytown metro station. So that's how I get around mostly. But yeah, I would love to increase the bus service here. But most people drive, but most people are really nice. We do have, I think, a slightly older population than most neighborhoods in DC. A lot of people come here to raise their kids because we have really good elementary schools and middle schools and high schools, like public schools in Ward 3. So a lot of people come here to go to the schools here. But it's a really nice neighborhood. We have a lot of really nice people.
What do your constituents say about your representation in the ANC?
They've all been really supportive. I've had a lot of people who I didn't know before, because it's not entirely Spring Valley. I have parts of Kent and the Palisades, which are the neighborhoods to the south of us. And so there are people I didn't know before. But I had people call me and hi, you don't know me, but I'm just really excited. If you need any help with anything, please let me know. And everyone's just been really supportive. They seem to really like what I'm doing. I try not to do anything too controversial on the ANC. I think there is a general consensus. Everyone here is pretty liberal and pretty progressive, and we all want the same thing for DC. We all really love our city, and we really want to see the city thrive. And you will have people who disagree with you on things, but in general, it's been a really positive reaction to everything I do.
How much younger are you than the other commissioners?
I'm not sure of everyone's age. I think most of them are in their late 40s, early 50s. We have Chuck Elkins has been there for a while. I think he might be in his late 70s, early 80s. I think Bernie Horn is also maybe in his 70s. I think the next closest person is probably in his mid 40s. So I am a solid 30 years younger than most of them, at least, maybe more.
What are some of the issues that you've been bringing to the table that maybe the others aren't really thinking about or are not on their radar? Because I imagine that because of your age, people might see it as a hindrance, but there are also probably issues that you have specific insight into because of your age.
Some of the other commissioners, they moved here when they were adults. I've been through the DC public school system, so I think I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to that and the charter schools and stuff like that. And I have a lot of friends at a lot of the DC public schools that have a lot of issues, like at Wilson, now Jackson Reed. I have a lot of friends who go there, and so they can tell me about stuff that's going on there and some issues there. There's, a problem with buses picking up kids who have, IEPs or 504s. That's something that OSSI's supposed to handle. They're not handling very well right now. So I do get a lot of insight into school-related issues through that because of my age and because, all of my friends are in DC public and public charter schools. The other commissioners do know a lot about DC, and in many ways they're more insightful for me. I've never built a home. I've never had to request a variance or anything like that. So they know a lot more about that stuff than I do. And so I think we're sort of supplying the knowledge that we have to each other, and we're just trying to make sure everyone's on a sort of level field when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How did you get into politics? Because I've heard a rumor that it kind of runs in your family.
Yeah, it does. It does a little bit. So my full last name is Quentin Colonna Roosevelt. My dad's from Puerto Rico. My mom was a member of the Roosevelt family. So I get both last names. It's kind of cool. It's a little long.
Not a lot of young people, I would imagine, are spending their free time volunteering for public office. What is it like to be spending your free time this way?
I mean, it's really fulfilling. I mean, I think a lot of young people feel that they don't have a voice in the political process. There's definitely an issue with that right now. I mean, you see the young people don't vote at the same rates that, older generations do. That's a real problem. And a lot of my friends are jaded with how the world is going right now and how, climate change looks. And it doesn't really seem like there's much hope for us. But I'm seeing, that I can actually make a difference at this level of very tiny local government. But it's really cool to see. It's really fulfilling, and it's really cool to see your voice be heard and actually, see change happen in your neighborhood as a result of your actions.
What do you like to do for fun when you're not doing politics or school?
I listened to a lot of music. I was homeschooled for a while, and so I would just do work and play albums all day. So I'm obsessed with Stevie Wonder and Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen and all of that. I listen to way too much music. So I'm very much a music nerd. I just like hanging out with my friends. I like watching movies and stuff. I'm a pretty normal person otherwise. I think I love just having long conversations with my friends at all hours of the night. I was at Georgetown until 3 a.m. On Saturday night. It was just really fun. I got to hang out with everyone I got to see kids I haven't seen in a while. And so some kid came up to me, he's like, "Hey, how's ANC stuff going?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah. Do you really want to do that, or do you just want to say that because it's funny?" But I try to be as normal as possible. I like a lot of normal teenage stuff too.
So for anyone listening, particularly young people who are thinking, wow, this sounds very fulfilling, I would like to do this. Do you have any advice for younger folks interested in running for public office?
I'd say don't be as scared as you think you should be, basically. I think I was very fearful when I first got into it, and I had to go around and ask for people's signatures in my neighborhood. And I knew a lot of people in my neighborhood already, but I still knocked on doors for people I didn't know. And there are some people who are going to be like, what are you talking about? What is an ANC? I don't know you. I'm not going to sign your petition, whatever. I had a person who lives 3 blocks down from me that now I know, who invited me into his house, and we talked for 2 hours, and he was very nice. And people are not as scary as they seem, I think, and especially people in your neighborhood. And a lot of people are really supportive of young people getting involved in politics. A lot of people really want to see that. So I think you'll find a lot of support in places you wouldn't expect, definitely, if you choose to run.
Quentin Cologne Roosevelt, thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to keeping an eye on your political legacy in D.C.
Thank you so much for having me.
And before you go, here's some quick news. A second city government employee has accused John Falchicchio, the mayor's former right-hand man, of sexual harassment. The woman is unidentified, but her attorneys say her story is extremely disturbing and reflects a long-standing pattern of sexual harassment by the former chief of staff. Falchicchio resigned last month after a different sexual harassment accusation came to light. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden says he would use his veto if Republicans try to overturn D.C.'s police reform bill. Last month, he let Congress block D.C.'s reform of its very old criminal code. This is all happening on the backdrop of the House Oversight Committee gearing up to intervene further in D.C.'s affairs. Our Friday roundup covered the basics for you. And today's D.C. Life Hack is from Van Newkirk, a podcast host at The Atlantic. He joins us on tomorrow's episode about how the 1968 riots forever changed D.C., and his tip is that Washingtonians should take full advantage of the MLK Library. It's got museum exhibits, cozy meeting rooms, and free coffee, plus some incredible archival footage that he told us about in tomorrow's episode, so be sure to tune in. That's all for today here on CityCast DC. And if you enjoyed the show, why not tell your favorite young person? We'll be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. Talk to you then. How much younger than you are the other commissioners? Or how much younger? How much younger are you than the other commissioners? Let me rephrase that.